So good morning. So this week, the parsha for the week is called Beshalach, which means when he sends, or when he sent out, and it was when Pharaoh sent out the people from Egypt. Last week we had the Exodus from Egypt. They traveled through the desert. They had a pillar of cloud that led them through the desert. They had it would switch to a pillar of fire at night, and they traveled into the desert. After a couple of days, Hashem told them, turn around, head back towards Egypt. They went back towards Egypt, and they camped next to the Yam Suf, we assume is the Sea of Reeds. We assume it's the Red Sea. And Pharaoh decides to chase Israel and bring him back to Egypt. And so Pharaoh brings all his people with their army to chase Israel, and Israel looks up and they see Egypt chasing them, and they had the sea in front of them. They had nowhere to go, nowhere to escape, and they turn to Moshe and they say, why did you take us out of Egypt to die here in the desert? Better let's surrender or return to Egypt. And Moshe says, do not worry, stand back, and you will see how Hashem will save you. And then Hashem tells Moshe to tell the people to march forward, and he should stretch out his hand, his staff, over the sea, and the sea will split. And indeed, the sea split, and the people walked through the sea on dry land with water as walls on either side, and they crossed the sea. And after the people crossed the sea, the Egyptians who were behind them entered the sea as well. And when all of Israel was outside of the sea, back on land, and the Egyptians were all in the sea, Hashem then made the walls of the sea come crashing down on them, and all the Egyptians then drowned in the sea. And the people, seeing this great miracle, then sang a song to Hashem, the song of the sea, or in Hebrew, the Az Yashir, Shirat Hayam, or it starts the words Az Yashir, and we actually sing it every day in our daily prayers because it is such a powerful song that the people sung. Then the next part, the Torah that continues, the people that travel through the desert, they go for 3 days, they have no water, and they come to a place where the water is bitter. Hashem shows Moshe a piece of wood that he should throw into the river, into the water, and he throws it into the water, and presumably it was an oasis in the desert, and he throws it in, and the water becomes sweet, and they're able to drink the water. And then Hashem taught Moshe some commandments, some of the first commandments that they're taught. And then the people continue traveling, and then they run out of food that they had brought with them from Egypt, and they come to Moshe and they say, we have no food, we're going to die here in the desert from lack of food. And so Hashem tells Moshe that he will bring the manna. It will rain manna down every day. They will go out in the morning and they will collect manna, and they will then bring it back, and everyone will collect the exact same amount every single day. In the morning, 1 omer per person in their household, and they have to eat the entire amount, not leave any of it until the morning. They collect for 6 days. On the 6th day, there is double. They come to Moshe and say, we all ended up collecting double. Moshe says, that's because tomorrow is going to be Shabbat and Shabbos, and there will not be any manna. Today, on Friday, you will collect double for Shabbat. And so the people ate this manna for the next. Of course, people didn't listen. Some people did leave over to the morning. Some people did collect on Shabbat, and Hashem was not happy about that. And they continued eating this omer for the next 40 years. That they were in this manna for the next 40 years. They were in the desert. Not too long ago, a couple of months ago, we actually did a class about the manna. You may recall. For those that don't, you can listen to it. It's on the Torah Cafe podcast. Then the Torah continues to tell us how they then came to a place called Rephidim, and over there the people had no water. They came to Moshe and complained to Moshe, and Moshe told them, Moshe prayed to Hashem. Hashem told him to take his stick and hit a rock. He hit the rock, and water came out of the rock, and there was enough water for everyone to drink. And according to our oral tradition, the sages say that this rock also traveled with them through the desert and continued to generate water so that they had fresh water throughout their time in the desert. Then they are attacked by a nation called Amalek, who are descendants of Jacob's brother Esav, and they're a nomadic tribe that lives in the Sinai Desert. They attack Israel unprovoked, and Moshe asks his student Joshua to lead the battle against Amalek, and they do, and they weaken Amalek. Moshe, meanwhile, goes up on a hill where he holds up his hands in prayer to Hashem, and he stands in prayer. He goes up together with his brother Aaron and his nephew Hur. However, they are not. However, Moshe gets tired, and they hold him up so that he can continue praying. And as long as his hands are up, the people see Moshe's hands, and they also pray, and as a result, they win, and they weaken Amalek. However, Hashem tells them to always remember what Amalek did to them, and what Amalek had done to them, how he had attacked them. And they have a mitzvah to wipe out, will eventually wipe out this nation of Amalek. Also another subject that we've discussed a number of times. So that is the Parsha in short. Any questions about the Parsha? Yes, Marla.
I kind of like to think that Torah gives us lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's like make the sea disappear forever. And it didn't necessarily give people tasty food, but actually God, our faith in God, our part is to be forward. And our faith that God will get us through whatever it is that we have to accept.
Excellent points. The Torah teaches us lessons, and we believe that very strongly. When we did our class on the manna, we spoke about the lessons from the manna. The Torah speaks about it later. Clearly, Moses speaks about it, how Hashem gave you food every day for that day, to remember that your food comes from Hashem. Even if you think you have food in the pantry, you have money in the bank, know that it always comes from Hashem, and every day you have to ask Him for your food. Very good. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Adele.
I don't know if there's an answer to this, but when they come out of the sea, I think the first thing is Miriam takes the women in there.
I did not mention that detail. Yes, I did not mention all the details of the parsha. In addition to Moshe singing the song with the children of Israel, Miriam then sings with the women, and they dance and play. They play cymbals, tupim. Cymbals are some sort of percussion instrument that they had.
So is there a significance to that? Is it that they're so joyous that the women have to sing and then everybody sings?
It's all part of the joy, yes. Yes, it's all part of the joy, yes, definitely.
No other
Is there no other symbolism? I'm sure there's a lot of symbolism to it. Okay, so this coming Shabbat in the Hebrew calendar will be the 10th of Shvat. The 10th of Shvat is the anniversary of, in the Hebrew date that is, of the passing of the previous Rebbe of Chabad. His name was Rav Yosef Yitzchak. He died in 1950 in New York. He was born in Russia and had quite a story. We've spoken about him a number of times, about his time in the Soviet Union, his arrest in the Soviet Union. He was eventually expelled from the Soviet Union. Anyway, he died in 1950, and he was succeeded by his son-in-law, who's known as the Rebbe, in 1950. And so it marks, I guess, what would it be? It would mark 54 years from the passing of the previous Rebbe and his 74 years of the leadership of the Rebbe. And so the Rebbe, of course, there's a lot to speak about with the Rebbe. We've done a class on the Rebbe's lifetime. We've done classes about the shluchim, the emissaries that the Rebbe sent out. We did classes about life lessons from the Rebbe, and many. We've covered a number of subjects. But one thing that I want to discuss that is part of the Rebbe's story is the Rebbe's mitzvah campaigns. So we'll talk a little bit about the various mitzvah campaigns that the Rebbe had started over, and what a mitzvah campaign even is, that the Rebbe started over his many years, more than 40 years of leadership. So Chabad as a movement is known for its many centers, many Chabad centers that were built in over 100 countries today, in thousands of cities and neighborhoods across this country. Chabad is also known for, in addition to the many Chabad centers all over the world that were built by the Rebbe's shluchim, by the Rebbe's emissaries, couples of families that he sent to various places. Chabad is also known for the many students who often visit businesses or stand on street corners and offer men a chance to put on tefillin, give out Shabbat candles to Jewish women. You may well have seen this before. And so this is actually part of the Rebbe's Mitzvah Campaigns. So the Rebbe arrived, he lived in France in the 1930s, and he arrived from France just after World War II broke out in 1941. And from when he arrived in the United States from France, the Rebbe was on a mission to build Judaism here in the United States and around the world, and by building Jewish practice, mitzvah observance among Jews. So to do that, especially after he became leader of the Chabad movement, as his father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, had done, he sent many shluchim, ambassadors, out to build Jewish communities in countless places around the world. These shluchim, and we once did a class about how the Rebbe built this huge network of Chabad centers. They built synagogues, community centers, schools, encouraging people with little knowledge, Jewish knowledge, or minimal Jewish observance to increase their Jewish knowledge and to increase their Jewish observance. However, starting in the late 1960s, the Rebbe began introducing mitzvah campaigns, which were specific campaigns to help Jews increase in the observance of specific mitzvahs. And over the next decade or so, from the late 1960s to the late 1970s, the Rebbe introduced 10 different campaigns, or in Hebrew, Aseret HaMivtzaim, Mivtza. Mitzvah is a commandment. Mivtza is a campaign in Hebrew. And so he introduced 10 Mivtzaim, 10 campaigns of Jewish observance. So I want to talk today a little bit about those, go through those campaigns and a little bit about their history, what they are and what they're about. So this really began in the lead up to the Six-Day War. Six-Day War in 1967, that would be almost 57 years ago, almost 58 years ago. The Rebbe, in the lead up to the Six-Day War, at the time Israel was small. It was not known as a strong power as it is today. It was weak. There were much less Jews living there then, about 1.5 million. It has grown significantly since then, or 2 million maybe. It has grown significantly since then. It was surrounded by Arab countries that were determined to destroy it. It had only been around for 19 years, and led by the Egyptian president at the time, President Nasser. The Arab countries were calling to destroy the country of Israel, and many Jews were afraid, right? It was just over 2 decades after the Holocaust, and many were afraid that the Arabs would do exactly that, and that Israel did not have the capacity to defend itself. There was no country, including the United States at the time, that would come to Israel's aid. No one that would supply it with weapons, nobody that would support Israel. This was before the U.S. was supplying Israel with any weapons. And so people were really genuinely afraid. The Rebbe encouraged people not to be afraid. The Rebbe at the time was confident that Hashem would protect the land of Israel and the Jews would succeed in defeating their enemies. However, in the lead up to the war, the Rebbe called for his followers, a few days actually before the war broke out, the Rebbe called for his followers to encourage all Jewish men over the age of bar mitzvah a chance to put on tefillin. Tefillin are the black boxes that have parchment in them, that have the name, that have 4 paragraphs from the Torah written on them. One is placed on the arm, one is placed on the head. We once did a class on tefillin, and it is a mitzvah for Jewish men to put on tefillin every day. It is usually done when we do our morning prayers, so it's usually put on throughout over the morning prayers. However, the Rebbe encouraged that we should go and encourage Jews to put on tefillin. If they don't know how to put it on themselves, help them put on tefillin and recite just the Shema with them, just the paragraph of Shema with them. So many of the Rebbe's followers spread out all over wherever they could, finding Jews, and whether on street corners, visiting businesses, in schools, going from place to place, finding Jews that had not yet put on tefillin and encouraging them to wrap the tefillin. In Israel, many Jews went to the Israeli army bases, and over there encouraged the soldiers to put on tefillin. A few days later, the war broke out, and Israel was, to everyone's surprise, victorious very, very, very quickly, and they liberated much of what today Judea and Samaria, what is often referred to as the West Bank, including the old city of Jerusalem. The Kotel, the Western Wall, which Jews had not had access to for 19 years, was liberated, and Jews from all over Israel streamed to go to the Kotel, which is the holiest place that we're able to go to today in Judaism, because we cannot go on the Temple Mount according to halacha, according to Jewish law. We did a class about that not too long ago. And so some of the Rebbe's followers opened a tefillin stand right there at the Kotel, and they helped the many people coming to the Kotel, to the Western Wall. They helped them put on tefillin. And that stand, by the way, is still there today. Anyone who goes to any Jewish man who goes to the Western Wall is encouraged to put on the tefillin. And many people have. I know many people have told me that they put on tefillin when they went to the Western Wall. Even after the war was over, the Rebbe continued the campaign, and Chabad continued to encourage Jewish men to put on tefillin, which includes helping people that don't already put on tefillin or don't have their own tefillin to put it on, asking Jewish men, have you yet put on tefillin today? And if the answer is no, offering them the chance to put it on right then and there, wherever they may be, and just to wrap the tefillin and make the bracha and say the Shema. It also includes helping people get their own tefillin and teaching them how to put it on so they could put it on themselves daily. And the Rebbe also encouraged us to check people's tefillin to ensure that it was kosher. So it was a campaign to ensure that all Jewish men put on tefillin as much as possible, ideally daily, but we should always encourage people to wrap the tefillin.
Excuse me, and why was this again? Why was he on this campaign to do that?
So the reason for this campaign originally was because the tefillin, thank you for asking, I forgot to mention that point. Originally the tefillin, the Rebbe pointed out, the Talmud says that the tefillin help protect Israel. So it helps defeat Israel's enemies. And that's what the Talmud says. So it will help bring protection to Israel. And we're told that the tefillin itself is a powerful connection between us and Hashem. A Jewish man who never put on tefillin cannot, when they die, cannot go on to the next world. It cannot move on to heaven, to Olam Haba, the world to come. And so therefore it's important that every Jewish male puts on tefillin at least once in their lifetime to give them a chance to go to Olam Haba, to the world to come. But in general, it's a great mitzvah that builds our connection with Hashem daily, on a daily basis, and therefore we should encourage all Jewish men to do it. A couple years later, following the Yom Kippur War, which did not go as well for Israel as the Six-Day War, in 1974, the Rebbe introduced a campaign to encourage all Jewish women to light Shabbat candles, which is a mitzvah for Jewish women. Even if they don't keep Shabbat, they can still light the candles before Shabbat. It's a mitzvah before Shabbat begins to light, for the women to light 2 candles, or some light more, and to usher in the Shabbat. The Rebbe, furthermore, the Rebbe explained that Shabbat candles bring peace to the home, bring light, spirituality to the home, and make the home a more spiritual, godly place. And so therefore, every Jewish woman should light candles before Shabbat. Now, in many Jewish homes, historically, just the mother would light the candles, but the children would generally not light candles. It was just kind of the mother of the home would light candles in each home. However, the Rebbe encouraged that all Jewish girls should light a candle along with their mother, while women who are head of households should light 2. Someone lighting themselves, or a single woman lighting herself should at least light one candle. Unless she's alone at home, then she should light two. But everyone should light at least one candle, every single Jewish girl. The Rebbe's followers the Rebbe encouraged his followers to go hand out candlesticks and candles or tea lights to allow women, along with matches, to allow women to light Shabbat candles. Also to make an effort to publish the times because every week we light candles about 18 minutes before sunset on Friday. Sunset, of course, varies from week to week. So Rebbe would encourage that we actually publish the times for Shabbat candle lighting. They would publish brochures with the times. Today already you have apps with the times of Shabbat candles, and some of the Rebbe's followers even started taking out an ad that ran for many, many years. I don't think it runs anymore, but ran for many years in the New York Times on the front page every Friday that would have the time for Shabbat candles. So the Rebbe would encourage us to give out candles, encourage everyone, all Jewish women that is, to light Shabbat candles. Around the same time in 1974, the Rebbe started another campaign to ensure to ensure that every Jewish home has mezuzahs on their door. Mezuzahs bring protection to the Jewish home. It says that the mezuzah on the back of the mezuzah, we write the letter Shin Daled Yud, which is Hashem's name, but also an acronym that stands for Shomer Daltot Yisrael. He guards the doors of Israel. Hashem guards the Jewish home that has a mezuzah on the door. It also makes the home a holy place. It does a mitzvah. It has a mitzvah hanging from it. So the Rebbe encouraged that every home should have mezuzahs on their doors, and that includes, and so the Rebbe encouraged his followers to visit Jewish homes and help people put mezuzahs on their doors. It includes, firstly, putting mezuzahs on the doors of people who do not yet have mezuzahs on the doors of their homes. It also includes checking mezuzahs to see if they are kosher. Unfortunately, many people put up a mezuzah case, which is the casing for the mezuzah. There's a lot of fancy cases out there that you can buy, beautiful cases. A lot of people put up the mezuzah case, but don't bother putting anything inside. Without a mezuzah inside, all you have is an empty case, right? There's no mitzvah in that. Unfortunately, further, there are some Jews who have been selling already for decades fake mezuzahs. Fake mezuzahs, either made out of the kosher mezuzah, is handwritten by a sofer, by a scribe, where it has two paragraphs of the Shema, is handwritten on parchment. But sometimes people sell mezuzahs that are pieces of paper, right? Pieces of paper that cost less than a penny to print, right? As opposed to a real mezuzah that takes the scribe time to handwrite. It's a piece of art. And unfortunately, a lot of mezuzahs are paper, or even sometimes people have parchment with printed mezuzahs on them. It's very visible. It's very easy to tell if it's paper or parchment. It's also fairly easy to tell if it is handwritten or printed. Because when it's handwritten, we use a special kind of ink that doesn't go into the parchment but sits on top of the parchment, and you could actually run your finger across it and you'll feel the ink sticking up from the parchment. So it's pretty easy to tell. But unfortunately, a very large number of mezuzahs still today are fake mezuzahs. So the Rebbe encouraged, firstly, that not only that we ensure everyone has a mezuzah, but even those that have, that we check that there's something inside the case. Often the cases are empty, and check that if there is something inside, that they are real kosher mezuzahs. Even if you have a kosher mezuzah, unfortunately, because they are a handwritten piece of art, they sit outside, they can sometimes be impacted by the elements, and the ink can run or the parchment can fade, and as a result, you no longer have the words of the Shema written inside. There's some letters, even if one letter is missing, the mezuzah is not kosher. So we're supposed to check our mezuzah twice in 7 years, and so therefore the Rebbe also encouraged us to check people's mezuzahs, send them to a professional scribe, have him checked, even if it once was a kosher mezuzah, to ensure that it is still kosher. So that was a third campaign that the Rebbe built. Then the Rebbe started a fourth campaign, the campaign of tzedakah. Now, it is a mitzvah to give tzedakah, and Maimonides writes that more important than giving lots of money to tzedakah, which is important because those in need, whether to the poor, to people in need, or to public good, to help other Jews do mitzvahs, or to public good, such as schools or synagogues, giving tzedakah, giving charity, is important because there are those in need that actually need it. But in addition to that, tzedakah itself is a mitzvah. Every time you give tzedakah, it is a mitzvah. And therefore, Maimonides, the Rambam writes, it is more important, it is better to give 100 $1 bills 100 times over than to give a single $100 bill. Because every time you give a dollar bill, you did another mitzvah. So therefore, the Rebbe encouraged that we should get into a habit of giving tzedakah regularly. Every single person should give tzedakah every single day. And to do that, we should have, there's an old Jewish tradition that we have tzedakah boxes, or known in Yiddish as pushkas, that which is a box with a little hole in it on the top that you can, and the removable bottom, that you can put coins or bills in every single day on a regular basis. And so the Rebbe encouraged us not only to ask for tzedakah when we need, when a community or individuals in need it, but to hand out tzedakah boxes so that people should have tzedakah boxes in their homes, that they can give tzedakah regularly. The Rebbe encouraged people to have tzedakah boxes in their place of work. Say every day when they come to work, they can put something in the tzedakah box. And even when someone else walks into their home or someone else comes to their office, encourage them to give tzedakah as well. The Rebbe even encouraged people don't always carry cash on them. It's more true today than it was 50 years ago when the Rebbe started this campaign, but people don't often carry cash. The Rebbe encouraged that we should have change, have cash available next to the tzedakah box, have coins there so that people can take a coin and put it in the tzedakah box to do the mitzvah. Give people coins to give tzedakah, and the Rebbe would do that throughout the many years that the Rebbe was leader. Every time the Rebbe would see a child, the Rebbe would always give them a coin. He always had a stack of coins on him in his pocket, and he would always give the child a coin to give to tzedakah. And many times the Rebbe would give people dollar bills to give to tzedakah. Towards the last few years of his life, the Rebbe started every Sunday, started giving out dollar bills to people to give to tzedakah, and thousands and thousands of people would come every week. There were long lines people would stand on. There would be their chance to speak to the Rebbe, ask the Rebbe for blessings for things, and the Rebbe would give everyone who would pass a dollar bill for them to be able to give it to tzedakah. So the Rebbe encouraged us to give out tzedakah boxes to everyone, to give out tzedakah coins or bills for tzedakah, and encourage everybody to give tzedakah on a regular basis, to regularly give money to charity.
What was remember he said something like brachas and something each time he did?
He would give different blessings depending on the individual. Sometimes he would say bracha v'hatzlacha, blessing and success.
When did he start doing it? What year?
1986. It was in 1986. Did it for about 6 years.
Torah, when we would get cards and we would put dimes in the cards. Do you remember?
I remember that.
I think that was like nationwide, that all the little Talmud Torahs, the kids would fill up these cards with dimes.
It was like a cardboard, a
Yeah.
cardboard that opened like this,
Yeah.
and there were slots, and
Yeah,
you would put the coins in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
they would collect them.
And they would collect them. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that. So the fifth campaign that the Rebbe started was this campaign to study Torah. It's an important mitzvah. One of the central mitzvahs in Judaism is that we should study Torah, study our Jewish traditions, and the Rebbe would encourage that every single Jew should dedicate time to study Torah daily. The Rebbe also encouraged regular Torah classes, such as the one we're at right now. whenever we meet someone, we can always share words of inspiration from the Torah with them. So this campaign led to a growth of Torah classes at Chabad centers, at other places, encouraging people to regularly study. It also led, the Rebbe encouraged that that they make classes publicly available. Back in the 1970s, that would have been through cassette tapes, and later by phone recordings, where you would be able to call a number to hear Torah classes. By the 1990s, that moved to the internet, and today there are lots and lots of Torah options on the internet. Today, we have the option of teaching Torah through YouTube and through podcasts, as our so our Torah classes have even further reach, as we're doing right now, right? Teaching through social media, through YouTube, and through our podcast. The Rebbe, a sixth campaign that the Rebbe began was in Hebrew called Bayit Maleh Sfarim, or to fill one's home with Jewish books. The Rebbe encouraged that every single Jewish home should have Jewish books in them. Everyone, at minimum, every Jewish home should have the basics. Should have a Siddur, a Jewish prayer book. You cannot be a Jewish home without a Jewish prayer book. Furthermore, you should have a Tehillim, a book of Psalms, because Jews regularly read Psalms. And you should have a Chumash, a book of the Torah. Everyone should have a book of the Torah at home. That is the bare minimum. The Rebbe also encouraged that we should have a book of Tanya, which is the fundamental book of Chassidus. It is a book of self-improvement, how to live, how to be a better Jew. And the Rebbe encouraged that we should buy even more books. We should regularly buy Jewish books to read, ideally, but even if we don't want to read them, we should have libraries where we collect Jewish books at home libraries. And the Rebbe also encouraged communities to build communal libraries of Jewish books, is that there should be regular access and easy access to Jewish books. If you have books available, then you'll read them. If you don't have the books, you're not going to read them. It gives it a chance to Jewish study. A seventh campaign that the Rebbe began was encouraging that all Jewish couples to fulfill the laws of family purity, or in Hebrew called Taharat HaMishpacha. The Jewish law requires that after a woman menstruates, the couple then separates for about 2 weeks, after which the woman then goes to a mikveh. And only after she goes to the mikveh can they then be together again until her next menstruation. And we once did a class on the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha, of family purity. The Rebbe would stress how the Talmud says that this system of a couple being on average 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off a month helps cement a happy marriage. That makes the marriage on and off. It makes it consistently exciting, and therefore it helps cement the happy marriage, and it is very good for a couple's marriage. It also ensures that children who are born from this marriage are born through holiness, through fulfilling the Torah's mitzvahs. So the Rebbe encouraged his followers firstly to teach people the laws, the rules, and encourage couples to keep these rules. It's for mikvahs, so that women will want to go to these beautiful mikvahs, that wherever Jews live, we should have a mikvah, which is a ritual pool of water. They're a little complicated to make. We once did a class where we spoke about the mikvah and how it is built. Yes?
Okay, I've seen the mikveh here, but has anybody else seen the mikveh here? Oh, so you've all seen it, because otherwise I would say you should go and show it.
When we did a class some time ago about the mikveh, we went after the class and we showed everyone the mikveh. Some of you may remember it. I don't remember how long. It was a little while back. We definitely could do it again. An eighth campaign that the Rebbe began was a campaign of kosher, to encourage all Jews to eat kosher and to kosher their kitchens. Now, it's a very difficult thing, food consumption. In other words, you have to buy different things. You have to change your recipes. Usually people have the same recipes. They keep cooking the same thing again and again and again. You got to change everything. It also means that you have to change your kitchen, right? And you have to kosher your kitchen. There's some parts of the kitchen can go through a koshering process, which for some things includes, we once did a class on what we call koshering, the process of making your kitchen kosher. For some things, it includes putting it in boiling water. For some things, it means putting a blowtorch to it and heating it up. And for some things, it cannot be made kosher and must be replaced. So you need someone who knows, who's well versed in the laws of kosher, who can come and help show you which things need to be done and help do it for you to make your kitchen kosher. It is a difficult process, and yet it is very rewarding. We believe that when we eat kosher, it helps us spiritually. It helps our spiritual health, just as certain foods are unhealthy for you, so too for a Jew, non-kosher is spiritually unhealthy for them. It's unhealthy for their soul, and so therefore it's important to care for our spiritual health by eating kosher. And therefore, although a difficult mitzvah, we should encourage all Jews to eat kosher and, if possible, to kosher their kitchens. Go through that koshering process. Here in the shul, in our community, we've done it many, many times. We've helped many, many families in this community kosher their kitchen and make their kitchen kosher, and happy to do so for anyone who would like. A ninth campaign that the Rebbe began was a campaign of Jewish education, to ensure that all Jewish children get access to Jewish education. And we can do this through building Jewish schools, through enrolling children in Jewish schools, through sending children to Jewish summer camps where they'll learn about Judaism, sending children to Jewish after-school or Sunday programs. The Rebbe also encouraged that we should make regular rallies where we should gather children together. This is based on the story, in the Purim story, the Talmud tells us that Mordechai, that was Esther's cousin and the hero of the Purim story, when they heard about Haman's decree that he was going to annihilate the entire Jewish people in the Persian Empire, Mordechai gathered 22,000 children to teach them Torah. And so the Rebbe encouraged that we should gather children in groups together to study Torah together and to pray together. And then the Rebbe actually chose 12 central Jewish teachings that he referred to as the Yud-Beis Psukim, the 12 verses, that should be recited by children at these gatherings. And I hope we'll do, hopefully, another class where we will discuss these 10 Jewish teachings, these 10 fundamental 12 fundamental teachings, 12 verses that the Rebbe chose that we should teach children, that all children should know and recite regularly. And then a final campaign that the Rebbe would actually always stress that this is number one. The first and most important is Ahavat Yisrael, love for a fellow Jew. That we should all care for each other, love each other. This is not a specific thing that we need to do, but a more general care for each other and encourage everyone to feel for each other. In fact, the Rebbe pointed out that all the other campaigns are really a subset of Ahavat Yisrael, of loving one's fellow. If you really care for them, you want to make sure that they will do the mitzvahs as well. So the Rebbe started over the late 1960s, early 1970s, these 10 different mitzvah campaigns to encourage all Jews to follow these mitzvahs, to put on tefillin daily, to light, for Jewish men to put on tefillin daily, for Jewish women to light Shabbat candles every Friday night, for every Jewish home to have mezuzahs on their doors, for everyone to give tzedakah on a regular, daily, ideally basis, to encourage everyone to study Torah regularly, to encourage everyone to have Jewish books in their home, encourage Jewish couples, to keep the family purity laws and go to the mikveh, to encourage Jewish homes to keep kosher and go kosher, encourage all Jewish children to get Jewish education, and to encourage everyone to show love for each other. Yes, Hillary?
Yeah, but what the Rebbe did, okay, but that happened before.
These were all mitzvahs that existed beforehand. However, many of people were not following many of these commandments. The Rebbe encouraged us to ensure that every single person do all of these mitzvahs. These were campaigns to help other people that were not yet doing these mitzvahs to go ahead and do them.
Well, those are only the people that followed him, correct?
Whoever wants to. Anyone can do this.
Because I did it before and I was...
If you did it before, then that's fine. Then you should be helping others do it. campaign was, even if you're doing it yourself before that, a lot of people were doing this themselves. But the Rebbe encouraged it's not enough to do it yourself. You got to get other people to do it as well.
To join the group.
Join the group, yes. Get other people to do it. Yes, Marla.
Just a comment. My son was, brought up in Reform Judaism, so he had never put on a tefillin. And we had the Samosa Art Festival, and we stopped by, and it was his first experience to have a tefillin put on.
Excellent. Excellent. So he put on tefillin.
It transformed him. He felt the presence of God. And he said there are only a few times in his life when he has felt that, and he still recalls that. And he tried to encourage people in his Reform temple to do it. They weren't up for it.
Amazing that he put on tefillin and it changed him. I just have one comment to that I would encourage him to do it again. And I'd be happy to help him anytime, either if he came here or to find someone who lives near him to help him do it. So the Rebbe encouraged his followers, which they did, and they would go visit Jewish homes, Jewish businesses, knocking on doors, asking people, if they are Jewish. It's not easy to tell if someone's Jewish or not. Jews are not necessarily always visibly Jewish, and so they would ask people if they were Jewish, and they ask people if they're Jewish and say, would you like to do this mitzvah? Would you like to wrap the tefillin? Would you like Shabbat candles? Would you like to give charity? Would you like to write and offer different mitzvahs to offer people to do these mitzvahs? And so the Rebbe encouraged that the students in yeshiva, in the schools, the boys and girls should go out and help people do these mitzvahs on days that they don't have school. They would often go Friday afternoon, which Friday afternoon is usually off in most Jewish schools. They would often go to Jewish homes and businesses, encouraging people to do these various mitzvahs that the Rebbe had encouraged us to help people with. And often people would stand on street corners and set up tables on street corners, or in busy places, in malls and in other busy places, to encourage people to do these mitzvahs, particularly to put on tefillin on the spot and give out Shabbat candles primarily, but to encourage people to do these things in places where there are a lot of people. In the late 1970s, some of the Rebbe's followers had an idea. Instead of standing on street corners and doing it, you can actually do it in a perhaps more comfortable way by getting a mobile home, an RV, and or even a truck, and that way people can come off the street into the RV, and they can do a mitzvah in kind of a more quiet, not in the middle of the street, in a more quiet place. And the Rebbe loved the idea, and he even called these RVs, he would call them mitzvah tanks, as like tanks, that can help people in these campaigns to do these mitzvahs. Of course, to attract attention, these mitzvah tanks always would they'd paint the sides with about the various mitzvahs they're encouraging people to do, and mount speakers on them to attract attention. And that way, and you may have seen these before, they drive them around to different places to encourage people to do mitzvahs on the go, wherever they are, to work with these mitzvah campaigns, and not to stop, to keep trying to get as many Jews as possible to do as many mitzvahs as possible. Now, in addition to these 10 campaigns that the Rebbe always referred to as the 10 campaigns, there were many additional campaigns. The Rebbe loved the idea of campaigns, of kind of working to get people to do things in large ways, in kind of everyone go out there and try to make an impact. And so the Rebbe, over the many years that he was of his leadership, the Rebbe set many additional campaigns. And firstly, for the holidays. Whenever a Jewish holiday came around, most Jewish holidays have a special mitzvah associated with them. And the Rebbe would make campaigns to ensure that Jews that otherwise would not fulfill the mitzvah get a chance to fulfill the mitzvah. So for example, Rosh Hashanah, there's a mitzvah of blowing the shofar. So the Rebbe gathering on Rosh Hashanah, when most people spend the day in shul, but leave shul before services, after services, and go and blow the shofar for people. who, for whatever reason, did not go to shul and did not get a chance to hear the shofar. The same thing on Sukkot. We have two mitzvahs on Sukkot. We have a mitzvah to eat in a sukkah and a mitzvah to shake the lulav. The Rebbe encouraged that we should build sukkahs in public places, in parks, in malls, wherever we can find. In businesses, we should build sukkahs. And the Rebbe even encouraged people built sukkahs on the back of trucks. And that way the sukkah was mobile. You could bring it anywhere if it's on the back of a truck. And that way people could eat, people a chance to eat in the sukkah and to take the lulav and etrog and to offer people the chance to shake the lulav and etrog throughout the festival of Sukkot. Same thing, Hanukkah. On Hanukkah, it's a mitzvah to light the menorah. So the Rebbe encouraged both that we should light these big public menorahs, which we once did a class as to why the Rebbe felt it's so important to bring Judaism out into the public square in the United States and make Judaism an American religion, part of American culture, which it thankfully has become over the years, thanks to these public Hanukkah displays. And so the Rebbe encouraged these public Hanukkah events, but also to encourage give out menorahs. And you've probably seen them, these tin menorahs that they produced in the 1970s en masse, these cheap menorahs that and candles that were produced en masse that we can just give out and hand out to people so they have menorahs and candles to be able to light the Hanukkah menorah on Hanukkah. On Purim, it is a mitzvah to give gifts to each other, gifts of food, and a mitzvah to give charity to the poor, and to hear the Megillah being read, and to make a party. And the Rebbe encouraged us to go out there to make big Purim events, where we can big Purim celebrations, where people can join in the Purim party, be given a chance to hear the Megillah being read, and a chance to share gifts of food and give charity to the poor, and fulfill the mitzvahs of Purim. For Passover, the Rebbe encouraged, there are many Jews who don't have their own Seder. And so we should encourage anyone who doesn't have their own Seder, we should make public Seders, that everyone should get a chance to come to a Seder. Just someone who is unable to make their own or doesn't want to make their own and doesn't have a place to go, they can come to a communal Seder. So prior to that, there was no such thing as communal Seders. The Rebbe was the one who started that we should encourage people to come to Seders. The Rebbe also encouraged that that everybody should we're at the Seder, it's a mitzvah to eat not just regular matzah, but it's a mitzvah to eat the handmade shmura matzah. And so the Rebbe encouraged that we should give out shmura matzah to everyone, and we should, prior to Passover, give a box of shmura matzah with usually 2 matzahs, one for each Seder, to every single Jew in the community. We do that in our community. I know many of you have helped us with that before, to distribute the handmade shmura matzah to every single Jew. For Lag BaOmer, the Rebbe saw Lag BaOmer as a chance to show Jewish pride. We spoke about it last year on Lag BaOmer. We did a class about it by making big parades and big public events where Jews can display their Judaism publicly. And then Shavuot itself doesn't really have any mitzvahs. However, on the Shavuot, we read the 10 Commandments, and it is a tradition to ensure that everybody hear the 10 Commandments to renew our vows, essentially renew our relationship with Hashem and our commitment to the Torah. And so the Rebbe encouraged that we bring people to the synagogue to hear the 10 Commandments on Shavuot. So these were all various holiday campaigns that the Rebbe would encourage over the years.
Is there any traditions for Tu B'Shvat?
Not that there's traditions, but the Rebbe didn't encourage any particular campaigns. There's no mitzvah associated with Tu B'Shvat. But definitely, you should observe it. It's coming up in 2 weeks, in a week and a half. We'll talk about it next week. Then another thing that the Rebbe encouraged in 1981, the Rebbe called it, or 5741 in the Hebrew year, the Rebbe called it the year of the Jewish children, the Jewish boy and girl. And the Rebbe then said that we should write a Torah scroll. It's a mitzvah to everyone to write their own Torah scroll. It's not always feasible. If you can't write a Torah scroll, you can at least purchase a letter in a Torah scroll. The Rebbe said that we should write a Torah scroll for Jewish children. And every Jewish child be given a chance to purchase a letter in this scroll. And that way, you will unite all Jewish children. A scroll has about 305,000 letters. And so that year they wrote one Torah scroll, which they sold 305,000 letters to 305,000 Jewish children. And then the Rebbe encouraged them to start a second Torah scroll. And every few years since then, they have been writing Torah scrolls for Jewish children. And there's still an organization today in Israel where there's scribes in Jerusalem that write Torah scrolls for Jewish children. And I forget what number scroll they're on now, but they've written many, many scrolls for Jewish children that the Rebbe encouraged as well. Another thing, another campaign that the Rebbe encouraged, we've spoke about many of these in independent classes, but I'll bring them all together as a single theme of the Rebbe's campaigns. But another campaign that Rebbe encouraged was for people to celebrate their Jewish birthday. Historically, Jews didn't really celebrate birthdays. However, the Rebbe believed, and this was one of the Rebbe's themes that the Rebbe had focused on and has since become a universal idea that the Rebbe very much, or really his father-in-law very much developed and spoke about. The Rebbe believed that every single person that God places in this world, every person who is born with a mission and purpose that they're meant to fulfill. And so the Rebbe saw the birthday as the birth of that mission. And every year it's another part of your mission. Essentially, it's the anniversary of when you began your mission, when your mission in life began. And therefore, the Rebbe said birthdays should be celebrated. We should celebrate birthdays. We should celebrate our Jewish birthday, not just by throwing big parties, but by recommitting to our mission, by recognizing what we've achieved till now. One should think about what they've achieved in their life so far, and then make commitments and resolutions as to what they're going to do over their coming year to fulfill their mission and make an impact in this world over the coming year. That was another campaign that the Rebbe began in 1988. The Rebbe also began a campaign, while all the above campaigns were primarily aimed at other Jews. The Rebbe began a campaign that was universal, that we should share with everyone, non-Jews, the 7 laws of Noach, the Mitzvot B'nai Noach, the 7 Noachide laws, 7 laws that were given first to Adam and then to Noach, and that apply to all humans. The Rebbe encouraged that we should share it, promote it, and encourage all people to observe the 7 Noachide laws. We've previously done a class on the 7 Noachide laws. And finally, the Rebbe encouraged that we should, that the Rebbe constantly spoke about the coming of Moshiach, something that we've spoken about many times, the Jewish belief that we are working towards a end of times, a time when Moshiach will come and the world will become a better place. We should anticipate and wait for it and work towards it. And the Rebbe encouraged that we should all be aware of Moshiach's coming and share awareness and anticipation of Moshiach's coming with everyone around us. So these were the Rebbe's many different campaigns. The Rebbe believed that rather than just going through life and doing what you're supposed to do, we should have campaigns and projects and work on specific things to be able to make an impact and make a difference. Now, many of these campaigns involved encouraging a person to fulfill a single mitzvah, maybe helping a Jewish man one time laying the tefillin, or giving a Jewish woman candles for her to light Shabbat candles that week, which may only happen one time. And so people often question, what's the point of doing one mitzvah? What's the value? And the Rebbe would often point to the teaching of the Rambam of Maimonides, where he writes that a person should always see themselves and the entire world as if they are on a scales. Scales are the old scales where they would have the weight on one side and you put something on the other side. So that kind of old-fashioned scale, like the one that you see in the pictures of the courts, right, of the judges, justice scale of justice, you should see it as 50-50, 50 good, 50 bad. And you need one good thing to tip the scales for the good. That's all you need. So one mitzvah can make all the difference. The Rebbe furthermore spoke about the impact of a single action. One action creates a ripple effect. And you do one small thing, that can then create a ripple effect to the next, and then to the next, and then to the next, and it can change everything. The Rebbe many times shared stories about this. He once said that he got a letter from someone that their daughter had been given Shabbat candles by someone on the street. She came home very excited. She wanted to light the Shabbat candles. They lit the Shabbat candles, and then she was so excited, they lit Shabbat candles again the next week, and they continued doing it the next week, and then she felt bad that the television was on while they were lighting Shabbat candles, so they turned off the television, and they decided once they're ready turning off the television, what are they going to, while the Shabbat candles are burning, they got challah, and they did the kiddush, and they had a Shabbat dinner, and slowly they increased their Jewish observance until they began to observe Shabbat. So one thing can often lead to the next, which leads to the next, and creates a great ripple effect. And we never know the impact of one action. And so therefore the Rebbe encouraged that we should even encourage people to do one action, and every action has a ripple effect. And I think we can say that since the Rebbe started these various campaigns more than 50 years ago, they have made all a huge impact. More Jewish men putting on tefillin, or have put on tefillin before, or are aware of tefillin. More Jewish women are lighting Shabbat candles. More Jews have mezuzahs in their homes, have kosher mezuzahs in their homes. But and the same is for all the other campaigns. However, there's still a lot more work to be done. And it is really the responsibility of all of us to try to ensure that everyone does all of these mitzvahs. We've touched on this before, that we believe in Judaism, it is not only a mitzvah for me to follow the various commandments that Hashem has given me. It is not only my responsibility, having made a covenant with God, each of us are B'nai Brit, members of Hashem's covenant. We have a covenant with God, a deal with Him that we will follow His commandments. Not only am I responsible to fulfill the commandments that God has given me, it is my responsibility to to ensure that every other Jew fulfill all their commandments as well. So I can't just do my part, do my thing, and ignore everybody else. We're a people. We're all in it together. We have to ensure that every other Jew fulfill their commandments as well. It is my role to help other people do mitzvahs. So if I am doing the mitzvah already, I need to help others. If I already light Shabbat candles, I should be helping other people light Shabbat candles.
You're referring to all Jewish people.
All Jewish people. Not just me, not just the rabbi. Yes, if each of you are already lighting Shabbat candles, you should encourage others to light Shabbat candles. If you don't, you definitely should start. If you are putting on tefillin, you should encourage others to put on tefillin. If you have a kosher mezuzah on your home, you should encourage others to have kosher mezuzahs on their home. And we should each encourage others, and that way we overall make a positive impact, and that positive impact has a ripple effect, and we will, over the long run, make this world a better place by everyone doing their part, not just doing good things on their own, but actively encouraging others to do good as well. And that was the Rebbe's call, that each of us should not just worry about ourselves and worry about our own relationship with God, but we should be concerned about every other Jew and their relationship with God, and encourage them to do more mitzvahs and to do more good things. So just before I conclude, I just want to mention two things coming up. Firstly, tonight, if you don't yet, we have Saul Dreyer, who is a 99-year-old Holocaust survivor, is coming to town. He is a musician, he plays the drums, and he has the Holocaust survivor band. It's a klezmer band. They're going to play klezmer, great soulful klezmer music, as well as Saul will tell his story. He was all part of Schindler's. He was saved in the Schindler camp. and he will tell his story as well as play music. That's going to be tonight at 7 p.m. If you don't yet have your tickets, we still have some spots. You can still get your tickets, or just come. We'll have tickets at the door as well. Then also this coming Wednesday, we are starting a new course called Judaism Decoding the Talmud, which will be about understanding the Talmud is the central book of